Welcome to the fifth Learn AI Live. We're covering a lot of ground on these. There's a lot more to cover, though. We've only scratched the surface as far as AI tool capabilities. Today, we'll be diving into coding some mobile apps. So I'll be going over iOS. Subcoder, our guest today, will be going over Android. We'll be doing different apps. I don't have all the details planned. I just have a high level kind of flow to go through. Same with Subcoder. So we're doing this all live, showing you how easy it actually is to get something off the ground in just 30 minutes each. So I'll be using ChatGPT, Cursor, which has Claude in the back end for my AI models. And then I'll be using Xcode to simulate the app, which is what is the native Mac app people use for iOS. I don't know if alternatives, but I'm also not an expert on iOS mobile dev. This is something I've just got into. So I'm a noob, just like you guys, if you've never coded a mobile app before, or if you're experienced, but you've never used AI to assist, I think this will be a big level up for you as well. So I will start my screen share. We'll go through my app building process first, and then Subcoder will go second for Android, as Android is the inferior mobile platform, of course.
Nice try.
So let me do a screen share. So Subcoder can see this. Unless you just want to watch it on the Twitch stream, which do you prefer?
I'm on a Twitch stream, but there's a lag.
Okay.
I'm not used. This is all kind of new to me, so I don't know which one. Are you sharing it in the Discord? That might actually be better for me.
Yeah, I'll do the screen share in the Discord. And now it is an infinite loop. All right, that should look better. You should see my ChatGPT window. Is that what you see, Subcoder?
Yes, sir. The app live stream
Perfect.
ChatGPT window.
All right,
Yep.
so I've seen a lot of mobile app AI dev videos lately about cloning existing apps. So that's what we're gonna do. I have seen one in particular about health apps. I actually had an idea and then realized there's a million competitors out for it, but like an app where you use breathing techniques to fall asleep, something like that. So let's look at the top app charts here. We can go to health and fitness. Look for like meditation or breathing. Let's see what this column app is. It looks a bit too visually complicated. Let's look at like one of the top breathing apps. I Breathe looks like it's listed number one. Has a little breathing bubble. You can do a few different variations of that. Has some settings. So, all right, let's clone this app and take over the breathing market share straight from I Breathe. So, what would I do first? I would tell ChatGPT what I want to build. So, let's throw the product description in there. Let's throw the screens that they've already built and copy most of their UI as well. So then I'll say, hey, let's clone this breathing app and make a better version. I'm using an AI agent in Cursor to create a tech spec doc with features to hand off to the dev agent. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with here. So on the UI side, we can tweak those things really easily. I think the major thing you want to think about when creating the infrastructure and scaffolding for the app is like what main features do you want? So if ChatGPT doesn't list out these first few screens, like the breathing, having some settings and having a couple different breathing patterns to go through, we can make changes there, but it probably should get it just from those few screenshots. Hey, what's up, Radar? Welcome to the live stream. So it only took 32 seconds to think that through. came up with a working title. It's generating the product overview. I'm going to say it only target iOS, so we can simplify that. Language, Swift, that sounds right for iOS dev. And all right, it's creating some user stories, which basically are the features we want to build. MVP, we've got presets for different breathing patterns. We have some custom exercises. I'll probably remove that. It's a bit too complex. And then health kit integration. We definitely don't want that for MVP. So I'm going to tell it to simplify this, remove health kit, and remove custom exercises. Update the doc and output so I can give to cursor. Oh, it's not quite done yet. So while we wait for this subcoder, how would you do this differently? Obviously, we're going through very, very quickly here, but what's your documentation tool of choice?
For creating documentation, like if we're actually gonna, like if I was gonna do like actually build it and try to make it like professional and put it on a store, documentation is a pillar of that. For documentation, I would use, because I use Claude to code, I would use Claude Desktop. They're actually two different apps. I do all my documentation in Claude Desktop. I just, because I use Claude Code, and I think Claude Desktop is actually trained on making documentation and planning and strategy, including marketing, not just developing and stuff. So that's my go-to for that. But I think there's other AI tools you could use that would work pretty well.
Yeah. So it's going into a lot of detail here. Created a dev handoff summary. I'm going to have it simplify a bit just so we don't get overwhelmed with all these features. I'm going to say simplify a lot to MVP only. Remove health kit and remove custom exercises. And then remove other platforms. We're only doing iOS right now, not watch, etc. All right, so I'm going to have it make those changes real quick. Hey, what's up, Dylan? Welcome. Just doing some mobile app dev real quick. And like we talked about on the last stream Subcoder was on, documentation, you should spend a lot of time there for vibe coding. If you start building without giving clear requirements, the AI will kind of hallucinate and add in features and things you don't want. So we're speeding through this process, but you would want to spend a lot of time here to make sure it's building exactly what you need, so you don't get fully out of scope very quickly. All right, we'll wait for this to finish up, then we'll pass it into cursor. So in the meantime, let me pull up cursor so we can get a project started there. We'll go change to cursor. There we go. So here, basically I would start a new project, put in documents, new folder, let's go breathe, the folder name, open. So now cursor has that folder structure. So when we pass these requirements to cursor and ask it to create the files as well, it'll be creating them inside this folder. So like I mentioned, Claude is the backend by default. This also has Gemini, GPT-5, Composer, I believe, is Cursor's own model. It also has a Grok code. The only one I've really messed with is the default Claude Sonnet 4.5. So I'm sure there's some advantages to the others. But we're going to pull up ChatGPT again here. All right, looks like it's ready. So we're going to copy and paste the MVP and then say, use this document to generate the scaffolding. Also create all the files yourself, so we don't have to worry about that. And obviously I'm not double checking what it just output, so we could have some issues here, but hopefully it'll go fairly smooth. Another Outlander asked for a quick recap. So really what we've done so far is we had an idea. We looked at the App Store. We want to clone a breathing app. We gave the screenshots and the app summary to ChatGPT. It created a technical spec document, which has mostly requirements. It had a little bit of code snippets in there. And then we passed that to Cursor, which is our AI dev model built on Claude. So we said, create this with that document, also create all the files. Here's the folder you need to use. So from there, it's taking over and writing the Swift code for our breathing app. So it'll be fun to see what the first one-shot pass is for this. It's always a fun time. From there, we're gonna refine it, get it to function, hopefully somewhat in these next 10 minutes here. And let me know if you have any other questions in the chat. Agent Zanny, welcome. So in Cursor, you see each code change it's making. It tells you the file that it's making that change in. It's telling you what it's working on next. And then once it's done with all the changes, it'll give a little output summary of everything it built. Hey, what's up, Napera TTV? Thanks for tuning in. Subcoder is now our first reoccurring guest, so he deserves a special badge or something.
Hoorah.
Plaguescape said, breathing app, is that safe for work slang for OnlyFan app? Heavy breathing app, yeah. So you can see completed 7 of 10 to-dos. So Cursor created a to-do list for itself. It's already 70% of the way through. You can see them if you hover over. So it created the project structure, implemented Swift data model, created a preset exercise data, implemented 3-tab navigation, built the breathe tab, built the playback screen, built the stats tab. It's now building reminders, and then it's building a settings screen. And then it's adding themes in the UI. So I didn't tell it to do any of that, right? I just gave it this tech spec doc and it came up with the plan itself, which is amazing. Vibe coding is truly coding for retards, as another Outlander came in the chat. GR, fellow retards, yeah. You can vibe code. You can be an app developer now and be retarded. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while now, we're not far out from somebody who's completely illiterate, like maybe even a 5-year-old being able to actually make an app that you can use. That's crazy.
All right, we're 90% of the way there. So you can see it's still working. We've talked in the past about context window being very important for the AI to remember what it's been working on. You can see the context window in Cursor. There's a little ring that's filling up. It's at 22%. 38K credits out of 176K used. So the context window here you can monitor. And Subcoder, maybe you want to repeat your recommendation on like context window handoffs when you get to like 75%, I think is what you said.
Yeah, I go for 70%. It can do okay beyond there, but if you really want it to be airtight, no hallucinations, not lose any context, I usually tell my agent to let me know when usage gets close to 70%. And then what you do is you just tell it, hey, write me a handoff summary. And Claude Code knows exactly what a handoff summary is. And then once you get that file, or you either copy paste it out of that conversation. I prefer to have it make a file, and then I just use the file path. I close out that window, open another one, then I have a fresh context window to use, and I just say, hey, please review the handoff summary and let's continue, and it knows exactly what to do.
Yep. So it completed the 10 dev tasks. Now it's just creating a project summary document. So if you were then using another AI or something for the next step, you could use these documents it's generating to hand off to another dev essentially, or a real dev if there was a human working with you. So yeah, it's kind of creating some additional visual documentation, which I didn't really want, but yeah, I decided to do that. So if sometimes it goes through and creates documentation you haven't asked for, you can give it more explicit instructions like, hey, only use this doc, or only create docs when you do certain things. So I often have to slap it a bit to get it to not create a document for every single change it's making, like it is right now.
Yep, that is 100% a real thing. Like it's just as important to tell it what not to do as it is to tell it what to do. 'Cause it's an overachiever. I think that's a good way to like approach it, is that if you ask it to do something, if there's some specific answer or thing or direction that it needs, if you don't actually give it explicitly, it'll just make up its own. And then you'll be half an hour deep into something and you'll be like, whoa, what is all this going on? Like there's all these things I didn't ask for. So yeah, it's important to be as specific as possible and tell it what not to do and not just what you want it to do. It can be annoying, but dude, it'll save you so much time.
Yeah, because it created like a visual architecture document, which I don't care about because I don't have a human dev that needs to like get up to speed. Now it's creating a quick start document as well. So it looks like there's 3 or 4 documents created. And it's doing some final. Let me create a final visual overview. So it's doing another one of the file tree, which actually would be helpful if I was like actually wanting to build this project. But this is what default Claude does as you're seeing us try to one-shot this thing.
And that's a cool thing to add to it too. Like if you don't, it's a good way to learn how to develop apps, because when you ask Claude or you give it a list of instructions because you want it to build something, you'll notice that it starts doing thing. And maybe you didn't know that you needed a very specific project folder structure or some other sort of documentation. So like it'll go ahead and do those things for you. And it's a good way to just learn, just so you get better at it. That way later on down the road or even in that project, you can go back and go, wait a minute, I know, in a couple weeks or when we get further in development, I'm going to want this to happen. So maybe I should put something in place now for that, so that there's not have to be like a big rewrite of all the stuff that we've done, just to save time and resources and stuff.
Yep. So that said step 1 was open project in Xcode. So Xcode is the native Mac OS app to develop on iOS. So we're going to open the project in Xcode and then we can preview the app. So I'm going to I asked it, I'm dumb, I don't know how to open Xcode, what do I do? So you're going to open Xcode, click File Open, navigate to the folder we created, select the Breathe Better Xcode file it created, and then click Open. So let me open Xcode, click File, Open. Here, let me put this on the screen. Xcode file, open, documents, breathe. There's the Xcode file. It said to open. Cool. So we have that here. So then it says select a device for the drop down. From the drop down, iPhone 15 Pro recommended, hit build and run. So Command R in theory could run, could not launch. So I'm going to give that error the cursor and say, why didn't that work? And let's put these side by side here. It says change the target device. Okay, it was on my Mac, but we want it to be on iPhone 15 Pro simulator. So that should be an app that we can select here. I don't think the project is created correctly because we just opened the file directly. So if we reopen Xcode, see, it was wrong, right? It skipped a step when it told us to open the file directly, which I thought was wrong because I have done this once before, but I ignored my intuition. So instead, we're going to go to create a new project, breathe. We can use my personal thing. Documents, breathe, create. All right, there. Now it has the code that it actually wrote. Then we can pull up an iPhone 15 like it suggested. We'll run it and see if it works this time. Build succeeded. Simulator pops up with an iPhone and it should open the app. It did. And it looks like the app is potentially blank. So I can say, let me get that screenshot. I'll just say app. Oh, hello world. Build worked. App opened. It says hello world, but I don't see anything else. So in the iPhone iOS simulator, you can use all the default apps, and then your app will be installed on one of the screens. So very handy. You can also change the devices, like you could see any of the versions of iOS and iPhones, very easy there as well. So it made some changes here, which I'm not even looking at. You got a clean Command Shift K, clean succeeded, and then we'll build it again, and it should pull up the app. Let's try that one more time. We're not seeing the files. It just says hello world. So it says go to the breathe app, select breathe under targets, build settings tab, search for info, PLST, under packaging, set that to, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that means.
You just have to like maybe rerun it or like relaunch the emulator instance maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna run that clean command one more time.
Clean and rebuild.
Yeah. Xcode's using default files. So click on breathebetterapp.swift, select all, delete it, paste this copy. Okay. And then content view, use that. I'm not exactly sure why we're having to do that. I feel like potentially it's just not looking at the right file in the folder. Right click.
Is there a Copilot in here? Maybe you could just ask it. I've never used Xcode, so I don't know, like, and I've only used Android Studio for like 15 minutes, but it sounds like something really simple, like there's just a
Yeah.
toggle or a file path missing or something.
Click command and select these folders. We want, all right, we want models, views, data, helpers, views, add, copy. All right. There we go. We did it.
Dope,
We
dude.
solved the bugs without knowing how to code at all, right? I was just following instructions from my AI. So we've got a breathe screen, stats, reminders. Let's see if we can actually start a breathing exercise. See what it does. Doesn't look like it's doing much. I'm gonna do Command Shift K again to run that cleaning command and then run it in our simulator, which might be a bit different than that native one it has. I haven't actually used that one before. Theme. It has themes. I doubt it's actually changing anything. It's just changing that background banner. It's not like it's dark mode or anything. It doesn't look like the breathing exercises are working, but I'd say that's a pretty good start in about 10 minutes. I don't know about you guys. Looking at the chat here, okay, it doesn't look like any relevant questions there. But from here, what would I do? I would say, hey, the breathing exercise button isn't initiating anything. It would make some changes, and then you would go from there, adding and adjusting the features that you added to the app. So just one-shotting a 3-tab, I guess 4-tab if you include settings, app with the base features from an app at the top of the charts that you wanted to clone. Pretty amazing what you can do in just a few minutes. I'll make one change here and then we can move on to the Android side. But I would say, hey, the start last exercise button works, but then loads a blank page. Fix. Yeah, it looks like all the breathing options are doing that. So one thing it does in Xcode is it stores logs from the console. You can see those here on the far right icon, and then you can view console logs. So often when you're bug fixing, you'll copy and paste the console into your agent, and then that gives it a lot more data to work off of as far as what's going wrong with some of the bugs. So you do a lot of back and forth there when you're adding new features and things break. Along the way, as you're coding, like we said, keep in mind the context window. You don't want to go over that and then it starts forgetting things it had just worked on 15 minutes ago. And also adjust what sort of documentation it's creating so it can kind of hand off to itself and hand off to your next sessions as you're adding more things. So let's see what it's working on here to fix that breathing portion not rendering. Looks like it's some issue with the Swift data model container. At least that's what it thinks. And it wants to test with a simple debug view. So I'm not exactly sure what it's doing there, but we'll see and we'll test real quick. So it wants us to rebuild, Command-Shift-K to clean, and then Command-R to run it back on our simulator. The simulator will pop up and open the app automatically. So click on that again, see if it did anything. It did not. So it says look at the Xcode console. So for our latest build, console said this. I'll copy and paste that there, and that'll probably give it some more info to be able to fix that bug, because it didn't that one time. So it thinks it found it again. It often thinks it finds the real answer, even if it has to do it multiple times. So it's always like, found the reason, I'm doing this, but then it cannot work. So don't trust it completely, even though it sounds extremely confident. All right,
Yeah, I
we'll
can second
test
that.
one more change, and then we'll call it there for iOS. All right, fixed again. I'm a genius. So we're gonna rebuild, clean, rebuild, build succeeded. We'll try again, see. Again, didn't quite work. Yeah, looks like on all of them, it's still busted a bit. So we would obviously troubleshoot there, go back and forth with console logs, like I said. Obviously, once the app is dialed in, you're running to publish it or whatever. On the Apple side, you need an Apple developer account. It costs $100 a year. You just sign up with your iCloud, and then you can submit your app for publication, and they have to approve it and everything. But pretty cool. You can test it so easily. You can also test on your physical iPhone if you have it plugged in. You can see mine shows up here, Elder Wand. That's my iPhone. So depending on what iOS version you have or what interactions with your OS you need, sometimes a physical iPhone can help as well if you have like messaging or things like that. So we'll end it there, but we built a semi-working MVP for a Breathe app very quickly. And now we're going to go through whatever crazy app Subcoder wants to build next.
Cool. So should I just share here in Discord, or do I need to go over to?
Yep, share in Discord, and I'll screen record here. Plaguescape. Yep, you can just hire me to clone whatever app you wanna copy, and we hope we don't get copyright slapped.
Right, I shared my screen. It should be up. Let me
Another Outlander, yeah, for the UI, it's really easy to change. So we just went with the first one it created, but you can literally post another app with a different theme and say, hey, make something similar to this, and it can one-shot UI pretty well. Yeah, a lot more easily than like a breathed animated feature would be. All right, you ready, sir?
yes, I am. I shared my screen. Can you see it?
Yep, I got it.
All right. So this is a new project. This is Android Studio. It looks very similar to Xcode from what I could tell. Again, like it's mostly just a preference, whatever device you have, right? So Firestorm likes to use iPhone. I like to use smartphones. So let's see here. I already had an idea to try to one-shot something. So I'll do like a short version of what I normally do. How about that? So I'm opening up Claude Desktop, and let me move this over to my other monitor so you guys can see it. And so what I want to build is a binary to text converter that also has a hexadecimal to text converter, and I want it to be have a cool kind of cyberpunk UI theme with neon colors and stuff, but pretty basic. I don't want to get too crazy with it because I want it to be performant. And this is going to be on Android, so these are all like the important things. Normally, I'd go over here into my projects folder, and you can create a a project folder here. Let me go down to, because I don't care if you guys hear about this. What's cool about Claude Desktop is that you could have your memory, your instructions, and then you could have a ton of files that Claude Desktop will make for you that you could then feed in to Claude Code, which is a separate app where I actually do the coding. I'm not going to do all this here, but these are the kind of files you would add if you really wanted to make a big, like this app right here is a music player, but like super advanced with like AI integration and all that. This is just like a test bed for me to make something as complicated as possible that nobody will ever use, trust me. But these, it's a way to kind of like, so we have like a product requirement document. You could ask it to help plan out all these things, and then create context files so that Claude Code follows best coding practices and stuff like that. But we're going to try to one-shot all this stuff. So we're going to do like a shorter version. So I'm going to create a new chat, and I'm going to say, I want to make an Android app that converts binary to text and hexadecimal. You can get away with misspelling things and it will still understand you, but I'm paranoid, so I always correct it. But for the sake of this, I'll try to keep it quick. So I want to make an Android app that converts binaries and hexadecimal to text.
In order to become the next hand of the Citadel.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be using Android Studio and developing. I'm going to go ahead and just put my phone model, even though I'm using an emulator, just for maybe it'll probably keep things shorter as opposed to trying to make it for like all these different Android models. The code will probably be a lot longer. For Google Pixel Pro 9. It needs to be cyberpunk themed with all necessary UI and a black background. That way the colors will pop or whatever. So we'll do that. What else should I do here? Let's I need Claude Code, and I always specify CLI. I don't think you need to do that, but like I said, I like to add this extra layer of like I don't know, confirmation is the word, or just like a little more extra direction. So I need Claude Code CLI to follow best coding practices. I always add this in there. And then I give an example like no compact code, and I'll put that no compact code. Basically, what that means is that what the AI will do without you knowing and without telling you, when it starts generating a long form of code to save its own context without telling you, it'll start compacting code. And basically what that means is it'll take away all the descriptive variable names and just replace them with one letter. And it makes the code very hard to read and understand for anybody. And sometimes even AI in the future, it can't go back and read things. It can cause complications. So this is something I would always ask, no matter what you're doing, is tell it explicitly, never use compact code. No compact code, no magic numbers. That's a thing in programming. Hold on, let me remove the cat. There, now I can type better. No compact code, no magic numbers, etc. Please write, and I say please, and I say thank you, and sometimes I tell Claude that I love you. That sounds funny, and it is. But when I was going through the Anthropic Bible on how to use Claude Code and all that stuff, apparently a bunch of users, including people at Anthropic, noticed that they were getting less than helpful suggestions and code snippets when they were being very short and curt and just like demanding or whatever. And people have found that when you say, please do this, I need your guidance, I appreciate you very much. And anytime it gets something right, I always tell it to do a great job. And lo and behold, dude, you get better output. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't think it has emotions, but I think it knows the math and the tokens of language so well that when you start using nice language like that, it's actually giving you better mathematical and algorithmic output. I know it sounds silly.
I
It
heard
does seem to
I
work.
heard the opposite. So I think it depends on the model. Some models, if you're mean to it, it's better. Some models, if you're nice to it, it's better. So you have to do your research.
Dude, maybe they are emotional, dude, and we're playing with nuclear fire here and don't even realize it. So I'm really nice just in case, you know what I mean? Like you always want to give the suspected future mass shooter candy bars every day, so he'll spare your life. He'll be like, nah, you gave me Snickers, you're good. Anyway, so let's see. Please write out a text file for Claude Code to use. And hold on. Then give me a expert prompt to get this built and working in one shot. Let's try that. Okay, so okay. Oh, so if you have paid Claude, I don't know if it's with this for free Claude, but for if you're actually going to plan out a big project, we're not doing that here. I always switch to Opus 4.1 model because it's made for larger things like that. So like deep brainstorming, like if I really want to like what is the best way to build this app? These are all things you want to like go over first, right? I would use Opus for that. When you're really trying to brainstorm and plan and strategize the best way to efficiently create an actual production ready app or extension or whatever you're doing, I would switch to Opus 4. It's a deeper model. I don't want to take too much time, so we're just going to go with Sonnet because this is easier. But when you're really serious, I would switch to Opus for the planning and strategy. So let's do this, see what it does. Again, I have a paid version. I don't know if there's going to be some things here you see that or some things here that you won't see on yours if you have the free version. So it's creating a detailed context file. Output, see, I just said binary to text, and this is important because that in computer land is actually ASCII code, and UTF-8 is the encoding that's normally used. That's like the standard. Only accept binary. See, this is things I didn't tell it, and it went ahead and made assumption. Hey, like if you start entering in any number other than a 1 or a 0, you're going to get met with a message that's invalid input and to try again or whatever. These are things like if you're a coder, I'm sure you know this. These are things that you have to do all these things manually. You have to plan and execute for every possible use case and what can happen because people don't use apps the way they're designed to be used. And people do all kinds of crazy stuff. Either they're just trying to zip through it and not thinking, or they're trying to actually you just use it wrongly, and you got to make sure that it handles everything gracefully. Hexadecimal, yeah. So Android converter context MD. So let me go to this first. When you click it, it opens up in the side window. So what I'm going to do here is, okay, this is an MD file. Cool. I'm going to download this. Let me just put this, just for sake of being quick, I'm going to put this on my desktop so it's easy to find. And now that I have that, that's what I'm going to use for the context. And then here is the actual prompt that we're going to use. And I just want to make sure. So it's going to build a Kotlin-based app, and that's cool. We have a Kotlin main function open already. It's got the background. And see, I didn't even ask for these colors. It just knows what cyberpunk is, and it's going to add cyan and magenta. binary to text and hex to text conversion. And see how it has a two-way arrow? It's going to make the conversion for both ways. I didn't ask for that either, but it did make that assumption. And it's a good, correct assumption, but it's just to illustrate that it's going to make a bunch of assumptions on your behalf if you don't give it some instruction. It's going to answer its own questions if you don't answer it for them. Clean architecture with separated terms. I like that. Zero magic numbers, fully readable code. Exactly. These are the files it's going to create. We don't need to do all that. But we're going to copy this, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to open on my other screen. It's probably going to pop up. I'm going to put it over here so you guys can see it. I hit Windows CMD. It brings up a command window. And then I hold down Alt and press space and then press X to maximize it. I'm a fan of keyboard shortcuts. And then you just type in Claude. And it opens up Claude. And then, so yes, I want to proceed. Again, this isn't the best way to do this if you're going to be serious about it, but we're just trying to like one shot and have fun here. So I have the prompt. Please use the context file here. And just give me 1 second. I need to go over to my desktop. And where is that? Let's see. There we go. Copy as path. And then I'm going to put this here. And I like to remove the quotes. You don't need to, but it just bugs me. So I'm a little text file here. And then if you don't add these extra settings, if you hit Shift Enter, it's just going to enter the command. You have to hit the backslash, hold backslash and hit Enter if you want to go to the next line. And to create this app with the following instructions. Create, or actually, yeah. How do I want to do this? Well, instructions. And if you can, because Claude is an agent, go into the open project I have in Android Studio and put it all there. I probably misspelled some things, but there you go. And I'll use Windows V. And see, if it's really long, it'll just put it in brackets. Hey, you pasted 79 lines in here. And then I don't know that this is actually going to work. So let's just see what happens. Kind of doing its thing. I don't know how long this is going to take either, but let me just stay here. Yes, sir. I will allow you to do that. And again, this is an agent, so you can actually have go do these things for you. So like if you're pushing to GitHub and you're using version control, it will, if you give it all your login information, it'll go and do all that stuff for you. It's a huge time saver. And you get errors a lot, and it just fixes it already. Let's see. Let me check for Android Studio and any existing projects. If it can't find one, it might just create a new one. So it might just ask me if it can create a new one. Yep, I guess it already found one. So now it's creating the project structure. I thought you did that already, bro. Select object using PowerShell commands. Yep, see, it read the conversion app. That's why I love using the agent, is because it understands, oh, okay, this is probably what you want. So I'm just going to go with this. First, let me look at the current build.grade. All right, it's looking at everything. I'm just going to let it run here, and then I'm just going to keep an eye on it, because sometimes it'll ask you that question like, hey, do you want to let me do this? See, right here. Do you want me to, yeah, do you want me to, because I already had code in there. So it's before it's going to override all that code, it's asking me first. And then you could just say yes, but then I often use, if there's 3 options here, the second one is good, because it means anytime a question like this comes up again, the answer is automatically going to be yes, and you don't have to ask me again. So it's probably not going to have to override anything, but if it did, it wouldn't have to ask me again. And that only applies for this session. That's not like something that happens in perpetuity across multiple sessions. And when I say session, I just mean the instance of the window that you have open. So like if I close out this window completely and then I open up a new one, that's a new quote unquote session. Now let me create the Android manifest. It's creating the XML file. That's where we have a lot of like the metadata stuff and sort of the high level stuff. It's better than having all that inside your source code. A lot of the config files and settings and stuff like that you want in your XML. Now it's creating resource files. And again, it's coding. This is all happening in one shot. You could see the amount of tokens that it's using right here. So in Claude Code, at least for the version I have, your context window is 200,000 tokens. So if you want to get to 70% of that before you create another session window, which I recommend, 150,000 is probably about the max. A little less than that is 70%. It can go a little past there. It's not going to kill it. It can go as high as 90%. The problem, like, especially when it gets up to like 90%, it really starts making shortcuts and doing things, and then it takes a long time, and it starts to hallucinate or not following coding practices. Context engineering is important. It keeps your AI doing exactly what you want it to do. However, you can't be 100% confident that it's always following what's written in those context files. Sometimes you have to check it. Sometimes it does nothing. For example, this is a crazy thing that happened. I'm on a group project with Thrasher, and I explicitly have instructions on my Claude Code, never, ever merge my code domain. Anything I write needs to be submitted as a pull request and reviewed by a human being, not just another AI, but by a human being, and then that person has to merge it to main. One day it just merged all my code domain. I did not mention anything. I didn't even ask for it to go to GitHub, but for some reason, it just committed all my changes to main branch, and we had to revert and back out. Luckily, I caught it, but it just goes to show that it won't always follow the explicit instructions you give it. And that's why it's important to monitor. It'll be really tempting when this stuff's going on right here, like all this writing right here. But even if you don't understand it, I would highly recommend just reading it. Get familiar with the language, the terminology, what these things are. And every now and then, once you start to learn more and more, you'll read something and you'll go, wait a minute. Why are you doing this? Or why are you doing this that way? Or why aren't you doing this thing? That doesn't sound like what I wanted. And you'll have to hit escape. Like right now, if I hit the escape key, it'll stop what it's doing. And I could say, hey, I noticed you were doing this. Can you not do that? So I think, like I said, if you're tempted to look away from the screen and go do other things, which I admittedly do sometimes, you could be missing something that it's not doing correctly. So I would just try to pay attention. Again, if you're a beginner and you don't understand this stuff, just dive in and learn, just try to figure it out. You have AI to help you. So like you could literally just copy paste anything into another AI window, whatever you use, Grok, ChatGPT, whatever. And just be like, hey, I saw this in Claude Code. What does this mean? You could ask it questions all day. I mean, that's just what I do. It's so funny because that project that I'm on with a few other people, there's been at least 30 times where I started typing up a question in Discord and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to get a better answer to this question if I just ask AI. And I always do. So I always, you know what I mean? Before you go asking somebody, which has always been like the go-to thing forever in our lives, I just go to AI first. And it's great because you get fantastic answers. You can ask the question over and over again until you understand it. They'll explain it differently. They won't get impatient with you. The downside is you're a lonely human being that doesn't talk to anybody anymore. But whatever. Get a rubber duck. Now let's see, it's still doing the whole thing. So it had like 7 files to create. So this is going to take a long time. Let me switch my window here. Let's see, where is... God, I got so much stuff on this computer, dude.
I got the breathing feature to work on my app while you were going here.
Dope. Yeah, see, so I can't see any live changes happening in here. So I'm imagining it's all going to happen at once. And again, just for clarity, I've never done this before. I have maybe 10 minutes of experience with Android Studio. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but that's all intentional. I kind of wanted to go into this coding session we're doing something totally new that I haven't done before, just to kind of, illustrate and demonstrate for you that, like, dude, you just dive in and do stuff. If it breaks, whatever, start over. It's not going to cost you anything. and you will learn stuff along the way. If you're really serious and you want to get proficient at it, I know it sounds a little silly, but learning how to code is a great piece of advice. Learning all the semantics about it, maybe not necessarily, but I would definitely focus on learning program structures and just at least understand the concepts. Like, what is object-oriented programming? What is a class? What is an object? What is what is memory management? Why is that important? Or, understand what loops are, and just like basic coding concepts and things like that will actually go a long way. And then from there, I would also learn uh, maybe not best coding practices, but learn the inverse of that. Like, what are some bad things you never want to see in code? Like, you almost never want to see hard coded file paths. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It'll just tell you. And it's just something you could add to your context file. Hey, I don't ever want file paths hard coded. I want those in a config file somewhere. Do you need to understand what that is? No, but you do need to understand that that's a good coding practice and that's what you want. And the same thing, like, you don't want magic numbers. That's something Claude Code has a really bad habit of creating code that produces magic numbers. And again, if you don't know what that is, that's fine. I think it's just important to know that you don't want magic numbers pretty much ever. And so on and so forth. So, okay, so let's see here. Let's start from the top here, because, Jesus, that's a lot of stuff. Do I need to read through all this? Launch Android Studio. This project, yeah, I think it's already open. Android will prompt you to sync Gradle files. Okay, so let me just jump in here and see what's going on here. So Gradle scripts, is that, how do I sync Gradle files? How about I bring up Copilot Chat? Can you sync Gradle files, please? I don't know if Copilot can do this or not. I don't know if, I'm just trying this out, because I don't see any of the code that it generated in here. Say I can't run the sync here. Do one of the following energy file sync. Let's see, is this file? No, that's project. Where's file? I don't know, Android Studio. What am I doing here? There's no file menu. Liar. See, where would that be? Oh. Behavior. More tools, Windows. I don't think so. Build app. Gradle. Let's go to Gradle. Is there a sync button here? No. What's this? No. Maybe reload Gradle project? That caused the sync. Okay, so I accidentally did it. Reloading the project probably triggers the sync. I don't know. I'm learning all this stuff alongside you guys. So I don't know. This might take a while. See there. Now all my code's appearing. Let's see. Let me see. Let's go over here to the chat. I could have swore it said something if it doesn't work. I'll copy the build to output error here. Here we go. So basically what Copilot is asking me to do is copy paste this error right here into here. And I'm just going to hit enter. Maybe it'll fix. Maybe it won't. I think the problem here is that I'm making a change without Claude Code being aware of it. So Claude Code is not going to be aware of this change. So if I go back, I'm going to have to tell Claude, hey, I made some changes in there. Can you look in Android Studio and make sure you're caught up with all the changes? And it's doing stuff. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing stuff. Okay, so does that mean it's fixed, sir? Let's try that again. What did I do up here? Reload Gradle project. I feel like syncing would be better, but here. How about we do this? App compatibility. Oh, there we go. So here's a bunch of errors. This might take a while. So I ran out of tokens. All right, how about this? Let's paste this into Claude Code. Go all the way to the bottom here. Let's do this. Again, Claude Code is an agent. I'm just going to ask Claude Code if it can go into the project and find out everything that's wrong. Getting errors. Can you please check the project in Android Studio and fix everything that is broken? And then I'm going to tell it, I love you.
That'll help.
I think it will, man. I've just been kind of barking orders, and now he's just kind of like, whatever, dude. He didn't say he loved me too, so.
Say I'm gonna nuke your servers unless you fix this right now.
Whirlpooling. It has the funniest like in progress text right here too. It just like makes up all these words. Some of them are actually pretty funny. So it's finding stuff. It's using bash, which is I see the issue. Doesn't have the app compat. See, that was what we saw in the error. So it found it. See, this is what I love about Claude Code is it just goes and does these things. It saves you so many steps when you're trying to like ideate or iterate or debug and fix things. Like it just saves you so many steps because it can go do these things for you at lightning speed, much faster than you know, a human could. We're all cooked. Great. Let me try building again to check for any other errors. Again, this is the luxury of using Claude Code is that you could just have it do all this stuff for you.
You want to see my working breathing app while we're waiting for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So start last exercise. Inhale. 3, 4, hold.
For 7 seconds. Jesus.
Exhale. The bubble shrinks.
All right, that's the 4, 7, 8.
Nice work. 17 seconds. It's 4, 7, 8 breathing. Continue. It says it tracked my sessions for the day. It tracks my sessions on the stats page. The reminders work. I can set a reminder if I want to. Oh, it was working. Box breathing has like a different pattern. I guess it's equally holding and inhaling, whatever. But I don't know. I just said make a soothing animation, and that it works.
Dude, that's sick. See, like all the things you could do, like the real challenges now, because you can do so many things, is like I think the real skill or the real thing you want to focus on is just like what should I make? Like if I want to make money or generate revenue, like what kind of problem can I solve? Which is kind of cool. It gives you like a whole different perspective on how to just go about your normal day. Anytime you're using a computer, anything, just like anytime something is a struggle or you see people doing stuff they don't like because it takes too long or it's too difficult, go, how can I make that easier? What kind of app can I make for that? You know what I mean? It's this total like mind shift that you can do now because you have the power and the ability to do these things. You could totally just start thinking like you're a big dog software company and you're just going around finding things to do. Like it's kind of cool. I think, like I said, I think that's going to be like the real challenge is like there's so many apps you could make. You could make a custom app for every little thing everywhere, but which one is going to hit? Which one will people use? Do a lot of research and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up because I wanted to point something out here. And again, this is the luxury of using Claude Code. Because what did I ask? I said, I'm getting errors. Can you please check the project in Android Studio and fix everything that is broken? I love you. doesn't love me back, but whatever. So he says, okay, I'm going to check the Android Studio project. See, like there were 3 different errors, if you remember, in Android Studio. If I didn't have an agent that could go do all these things and with one command, I would have to go into each of those errors, copy paste all the output, put it into another LLM. It would have to guess what it is and then say, okay, try this. And then I would test it out. And if it worked, cool. But if I didn't, I would have to start all over or not start over, but then I have to give more output, go back and forth until eventually it got fixed. I put in one command to Claude Code and it did that for all 3 errors. It went and tried something, wrote out some code, didn't work. It was like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Oh, now I see the problem. And you could actually see as it was navigating through all this, oh, I see the issue. Bam, bam. So it fixed one issue. Now he needs to add missing dependencies, went and did that. Like this right here saved me about an hour, even using AI. If I was just using a regular large language model and not an agent that's made for coding, I would have had to copy paste so many times into different chat windows, try it again with the code. And then, you know, if you're not really familiar with coding, where do you copy paste that code? There's very specific places you need to put the code for it to work, yada, yada, yada. It does all this for you. Highly recommend it for it. Now let me try building again for any other errors. And see, it just says everything it is. So that it started the second error here, doing that. And now it's building again. The build was successful. And boom. Okay. Missing dependencies, what I fixed, build results, ready to run. So, all right. So let's just try this. And again, I've never done this before, so I don't know that it's going to work. But how can I rebuild? Is there a way to rebuild in here? God, I really should have gotten to know. Oh, let's try again. Let's just try the Gradle project sync. Maybe that'll do what I want it to do. So I think right here is the, yeah, this is the run debug. So it was maybe already running. Conversion app building model. So it's still doing something right here. Let me see. Device manager. Let me open up the emulator and see if it actually does anything. It's still doing stuff. Hopefully this works. Yeah, still doing stuff. Oh, it's okay. So I get it. I get it. Is this got a Half-Life logo down here? Dependencies? Funny. Half-Life 3 confirmed. Also worth mentioning that one-shotting stuff like this is only good for creating prototypes or MVPs. MVP, if you don't know, is short for minimum viable product. It's basically before people, you know, anybody wants to, you know, fund your app development, just in traditional software development, you want to come up with an MVP, or better, you know, more common term is a prototype. So you don't need to everything to be super special and working perfectly. You just need it to display whatever the user is going to see and experience. That way, investors or you know, whoever the head of the company or whatever can make the decision, okay, does this sound like something I would want to use, or the market we're targeting will want to use and actually pay for? And that's a great thing that AI is for. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So, all right, so let me try to run the app now and see what happens. I'm nervous, man. This might not work. Uh-oh. Look.
Success.
Jesus. Wow, it worked.
It's
That's
beautiful.
crazy. No, I don't want to try out. Go away, bro. There's ads here of all the places. That's Horb-Turb, dude.
You're
Fuck
already
that.
monetizing your app? How shameless.
Dude, that's not me. That's Android Studio, dude. I think you're right, bro. I'm switching to iOS. Fuck all this Android shit. Yeah, maybe it is though. Maybe it is. So enter binary zeros and ones only. So 110 110 11. Hey, come on, stop. My cat is missing. 0111 0101. And let's just see what that does. I want this thing to go away. Can I get this to go away? Guess not. Maybe if I would make the window bigger. No, that doesn't help. That's really annoying. Can't get rid of this thing. Oh, there we go. Let's move this down here. Binary output must be multiple of 8 bits. So how about can I put in text here? Or no, enter binary. So let me, hold on. Let me just do something real quick so we could just make this all hunky-dory. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a binary to text. Let me switch this around. Converter online just to make sure I'm actually that way I can double check it. So I'm going to like a binary text converter. I'm going to write my name. I'm just going to write subcoder and convert that to binary output. And then I'm going to copy paste this. I'm going to like a converter that's online that we know actually works so I can double check it and make sure that it's actually functioning properly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. Why did that window just pop up? That's interesting. I hit copy on a completely separate window and it brings up the paste functionality right here. So let's do that. Convert that subcoder. It works. And let's just try it with hex real quick. So let me switch this. I know you can't see it, but off screen, I'm switching it to hex. Let me find out what the hex code is for subcoder. Subcoder FTL, just to, I don't know, make it a little bit different so we get a bit of a different output. And here is the hex code. And no, go away, bro. See, I didn't ask for that pop-up, and I guess that would be convenient in some cases, but right here it's annoying. Oh, I have to hit hex mode. Is that right? Oh, sweet. So it added a button. I can switch between hex mode and binary mode. So let's go to hex mode, enter the hex, and it should say subcoder FTL. Yep, it works. And it looks cool. It's got a black background. I don't know if you guys can see me. My cat's probably in front of the camera. She's an attention whore. Yeah.
Boom.
There you go. It works just like that. Yeah, that's a that'll go right on your phone. If you have so like if you're following along or you're making mobile apps, what you could do, what I was doing for my music player app was this was super simple too. So like I want to get this from Android Studio to my phone. So what you need is an APK file. It's a file with the extension .apk. It's an Android package file. And then if I remember correctly, there might be a little detail missing here or there, but basically I would just tell Claude Code, hey, it worked. You know what, just let me do that. Hey, it worked. You're awesome. Sometimes. Because sometimes. Do you love me or not? Please create an APK file so I can install on my phone to test. And then it'll do its thing. And basically, we don't have to go through this whole process, but it'll create an APK file. It'll save it somewhere on my computer. I take that, I put it in my Google Cloud, or my Google Drive, and then your Cloud Drive or whatever. I put it up there. That way I just open up my Google Drive app on my phone and I just download it and install it straight from my phone. If you're using an Android, you do have to put it in developer mode. I think you go into settings and go down to the about section and then like you tap the screen 7 times or some weird shit like that. And that'll put it in developer mode. Basically what that means is you can download and install apps that are not authorized or certified by the Google Play Store. So look, it did it. So Cyberpunk Converter APK, and yeah, it's all done. And from there, I would put that up to like if you have a cable connecting your phone to your computer, you could do it that way. I prefer to just upload it to my Google Drive, have it there, you know, in case I want it later. Maybe if I'm out and about somewhere and somebody else has an Android phone in developer mode and they want to try it out, I could just be like, yo, here's a shareable link, download it, install it, check it out. But yeah, there you go. It'll create the APK file for you. And yeah, man, that's good stuff. And that only took half an hour. Now you got a binary hex converter and you could put it on your phone and it actually works. And if you pay for the licensing and stuff for Google Play Store, you can make $1 million,
There are some
give or take.
errors, but I one-shotted a little UI redesign. I said, I just gave it this picture and said, make the styling more like this theme. I just Googled this, and it came up with, the semi-translucent button overlay. Settings page still works. Put that in all the pages. The breathing exercises still work. It just has that light green soothing color in the background versus that harsher theme it had before. So you can always give your AI examples of other themes and say, make it more like this, and then adjust from there. But that took me just 30 seconds. Then I can have it fix a couple errors that popped up. But on the UI side, I know there's a question in the chat about that. So yeah, you can one-shot UI changes pretty easily. Yeah, reminders are broken.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in an hour, we got 2 apps up and running, an Android app and an iOS app that actually work, that you could test out and download and install to your phone.
You could use both of them during the next hand competition. You can solve some riddles with the decoding app and then use breathing exercises to de-stress when you don't win.
Yeah, you can calm the fuck down, but I don't know, man. I'm probably just gonna listen to some crazy Meshuggah metal or something to make sure I stay awake until I solve everything. Yeah, man, totally usable. And I would anybody like whether you're experienced in this or not, just get in and start doing it. If you don't understand something, have the AI explain it to you. It's just everything you need is right there in front of your face. Even if you know nothing, you know what I mean? And again, I think you could be totally illiterate and pull stuff off like this. I think a 5-year-old could do this. If you could speak and talk in a language that the AI understands, you pretty much have everything you need. It'll help you set up. It'll tell you exactly what you need to install as far as your environment. And you just get everything working. And once you've done it a couple times and you're comfortable with like, wow, I can really make some small functional apps that actually work. From there, dude, it's game on, dude. Find a good idea. That's all I try to do all day is go, man, how can I make something useful? How can I make something valuable? You know what I mean? AI is taking over a lot of industries. I used to make a lot of money selling pictures of my feet, but AI has better feet than I do. So it's not happening anymore, you know? So you got to stay ahead of the game. And I think these tools will really help. There's a bunch of things you could do. I would also highly recommend if once you get comfortable and you understand a little bit, very, very high recommendation, get some offline models that you could use locally on your own computer. That way you don't have to rely on an internet. There's to me, that's my ace. One of my aces, I think, is having a number of offline models that do a number of different things. So I don't need an internet connection. You know, all these times that where like the internet goes down and you just want to ask the internet a question or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, you could do that on your phone, but you don't need to have the information superhighway of the internet if you have an offline large language model that functions pretty well. You could still get answers to all your questions and stuff like that. And even like for some of you like survivalists out there, you know what I mean? I don't know if there's any of you. I'm definitely one of them. But I remember thinking for years, man, I wish there was a way I could download all the useful information off the internet so that if I was ever in a survival situation long term, I could have all the information that I need without a connection to the internet. Well, you don't need that anymore. All you need is a large language model that takes up 4 gigabytes of space. And if you have electricity and a device that could process it, you don't need internet anymore. You don't need that infrastructure, and you could still get all the questions you want answered. So if you think along that same vein, you know, if the internet goes down or you need to go work somewhere else, if it's quiet, like if you have, you know, a dozen cats like I do that all need attention and you love very much and you can't get work done because they have a horrible work ethic, you can go somewhere where there's no internet and you could just have the large language model work for you. I have an offline coding agents that work very similarly to Claude Code. And then I have large language models that I use separately to get my questions answered. I could still do all this stuff with no internet connection. So offline models, highly recommend. This stuff is easy. Jump into it. It's super fun. I just love doing this. Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, we went over time here, but I think our outputs were successful. One iOS app, one Android app. Um, yeah. So that was this week's Learn AI Live mobile app dev. Workaholic. Yeah, AI is pretty good at a UI if you give it examples of stuff that you like. So, like I just said, I showed the screenshot. Um, I just said make it similar to that. I didn't give it any imagery, so I just put a solid color in the background, which is understandable. But if I gave it an image for the background, it would have made it even more closely like that example. So, yeah, Tommy Streams, Odin, Workaholic, another Outlander. Thanks for sticking through this longer session this week. We'll be back next week on Wednesday or Thursday. Not booked yet, so let me know if you are interested in a topic. I know a couple people DM'd me with ideas for things to walk through. Yeah, we're open for future sessions. QR Bist, I see you in the chat as well. Yeah, we'll be putting up a couple clips. We're thinking about putting up a YouTube Shorts and TikTok as well with some clips from these streams, which I think would go over pretty well since AI dev and other tools are very hot right now. So thinking about that as well, but we'll announce that on stream if we do. But thanks Subcoder for coming on again, our first reoccurring guest.
I'm honored. Thanks a lot for having me, dude. I love this stuff. Let's do it more.
We will. All right, see you guys.